And mute it on your end too. If you just want to push that little, or right here, this little orange button on your, or just, yeah, that little green one. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today with Aaron Stell. I'm going to let Aaron introduce himself, but today he's talking about maximizing Facebook and Instagram for real estate. So this is going to be great, very interactive. He's going to go live and show you these things in real time so you can take them back and use them today in your business. If you love this presentation, make sure to register for our fall convention. Aaron will be there and teaching on safety tips when it comes to technology. So Aaron's done a couple webinars for us in the past. We love him. He's great. So I hope you really enjoy this, and I'll turn it over to Aaron.
Great. Thank you so much. So the whole purpose for this presentation isn't to necessarily give you kind of an overall, like, this is what Facebook is, or this is what Facebook does, or that with Instagram either. It's more about giving you a handful of tips and tricks that can make you more effective in using this platform for business. That's really the goal of it. So we are going to touch on both the personal side and the business side. But really, I want you to have some tangible takeaways that when this is over, you will be more effective in using this to reach out to your clients. So I'm actually going to, I'm going to jump in here, and I'm going to, oops, that's not what I'm doing. There we go, and we're going to jump right into Facebook here. And so this is all going to be live, so no judging me by my friends. I'm sure you all have seen that. But one of the first things that we always like to talk about when we're looking at Facebook is, if you've never heard of it before, Facebook has what's called their edge ranking, which is really just an algorithm that says, we think this is what's going to be interesting or important in your world. So at any given time, if you're on your personal feed, like I'm looking at right here, you're only going to see about 30% of the content that's pushed out there. And you probably notice when you go through your feed, you end up seeing the same people over and over and over again. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to find ways to either manipulate this or cut through the individuals where we're not necessarily ever going to get business out of them, and make sure that we're actually interacting with the people that could potentially be referral sources or partners down the road. One of the real quick, simple things you could do, let's say Stacy here is somebody that I've been seeing too much of, or she's not going to be a referral source for me. If you've never seen these three little dots right here, you can click on those. And there's two ways that you can make it to where you will see less of Stacy's stuff. First one, obviously, is just the snooze button. We call it it's a great button for that crazy Uncle Bob or whatever that comes and hijacks every one of your posts, or you just see every single food post that they've ever had. You can snooze them for 30 days. Or if the person that you find them either offensive, or you don't really want to see any of their things anymore, you can just unfollow. So you're still connected to these people, and you're still able to go back to their profile and see what it is that they're posting, but it will not show up in your timeline. And so that's one way to just kind of quickly change. If you do that, you'd be surprised. If you do that for a handful of people, then what will happen is you'll start seeing new people's information pop in there. And if we're talking about how Facebook decides what's important, the first important factor is recent interactions. So if you've had messages going back and forth, or you've had conversations, or you've been commenting back and forth, that's number one. Number two, if a certain post is getting a lot of interaction from your friends or other people you're connected to, that will then bring it up. And then there are certain other weighting factors, like, is it an image or a video versus text versus links? It does like images and video better than it does like links, and it likes it better than text as well. So that's just a quick, simple way to go in there and just change a little bit about what you see. But then there's actually a little bit bigger way. So if you go over here into this explore section, and everybody's menu is going to be slightly different, you can create what are called friends lists. And if you've never done this before, it'll probably take you about 40 minutes to set it up this first time. But once you get that set up, this is a way that you can become basically highly successful at just seeing the people that you want. So what you do is you come in here and you say create list. So if I come in here, you can name it anything you'd want. And I'll explain as I move forward here the types of lists I would create. But really, I see three lists that could be valuable in this. One, if you're a realtor, the very simple one is sphere and referrals. anybody that is going to potentially give you business, send you business, buy or sell with you, those are people you definitely want to keep in contact with. The second one that I would create is an industry list. So if there are people, or if you are connected to a lot of other realtors or lenders, or it's people in the industry, if you create that list, then you can push content out specifically to them. Maybe it's just your just listeds, or maybe it's just your coming soons or something along those lines. And I know depending on where you're at, coming soon is a little different these days, but just pushing out industry related things. And then the last one, you can actually do a favor to all of your friends and family that will never be able to do business with you. So for example, they live out of state, or they're even out of country, and you're like, look, I want to keep in touch with these people, but they're never going to be a referral partner. Well, you can actually build out a list of friends and family that you don't want to hit up with real estate information, and we can exclude them. And I'll show you how all of these work. But those are really the three lists that I see. So it's sphere and referrals, industry people, and then people that you want to be able to exclude from some of your business related posts.
So Aaron, can you go into a little bit more detail about the lists, and maybe you'll get to this, but so what you're saying to start off is that if you don't have any of these lists set up, then you're only seeing 30% of your friends list posts. So like, say if I had 300 friends, I'm only seeing 100 friends posting and things like that. So I'm missing a lot of content.
Correct.
And then if we have these lists set up, that means basically that you can tailor the content that you post specific to these people so that it gets a higher chance of being put in their 30%.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Yep, that's exactly how it works. So the way it works is quite simple. So I'm just going to call this referral sources, if I can spell. Okay. All right, and I'll say create. And once you get in here, basically what you're going to do is you click on this add friends to list, and you can just go through all of your friends that you have in here, and it's being a little slow. And so you just go through and you pick the people that you want and you say finish. What I'm going to do for you guys to kind of skip typing names in here is I've actually gone through and I've created one. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to jump into this sphere and referral list right here. So this is one that I created. These are people I work with. But basically what this list now does, and I've only got 18 people on here right now, yours would probably be slightly bigger than that. But this creates a whole separate timeline of people that are only on this list. So if I scroll through and I'm wanting to just keep up with my sphere and referral list, I go through and now I will see all of the things that they posted. And so this is no longer having to go through my feed to see, everybody's stuff in order to get down to where my clients are at. And so by creating this separate timeline, now number one, I can comment on all of their stuff. That will make it start to show up in my actual feed. The other cool thing about friends list is if you build these out, it actually strips out all of the ads. So you won't see any of the ads in your timeline either. So you build these out. Now, if you're, from a strategy standpoint, I know that's the goal of this whole thing is if I want to make sure that I am I'm on Facebook as little as possible while getting maximum impact. If you have this separate list come in, you pop in here first thing in the morning, scroll through. I mean, as you saw with that, and granted, I've only got 18 people on this list, but say you have triple that, it will take you 1 minute to get through the entire thing. You can go in and you can make a few comments, you can interact with their content, and they will see more and they will start to see more of your stuff because you've had recent interactions. The other thing I can do is if I go up here and I'm wanting to create this post, so I click on the top, so I go up to the top and I'm going to basically post something out there just like you would any other time. If I post something in here, the only people that will see what I post are the people that are on this list. So you notice right down here where it says newsfeed, it has the name of the list. And so I can post content just to these people. And so it creates a separate place that you can put that out as well and push. And where this really comes into play is we do get a lot of people that are, they're hesitant to put a lot of work stuff out in front of friends and families and things like that. So this allows you to then push stuff out just to, say for example, you want to push out open houses or just listed or things along those lines to industry people. Now you can have this industry list where it goes out to all your, your realtor associates, it goes out to all of your lenders, it goes out to all of them. but you're not bombarding your family that, that lives across the country, across the world with all of your real estate posts. But the big thing is, what we're seeing from a standpoint of, of social marketing is you get better results by going through, and you do have to do some push advertising, meaning you create a message, you push it out. But if you sit there and interact with all of your clients' posts, that's what's going to make them feel warm and fuzzy. That's going to make them then start interacting with your things, and it's going to continue that relationship. So on the other side of that, so if I close this out and I go back to my home page, so this is just my regular feed here, and if I want to type something in here, so if I just go in here and I say test, I'm going to be sending this out. Normally, this is going to go out, at least the way that I have my privacy settings, it's going to go out to your friends. So what I can do now is, instead of having it go out to my friends here, I click on this and you can say friends accept. And so in here, you can type in individual friends' names if there's people that you don't want. But if I don't want to have, say, sphere and referral, my sphere and referral list seeing this, I click on that. Now all of my friends will see this, but my sphere and referrals won't. Now, the use case for this is, say, for example, you're on vacation and you don't want necessarily all of your clients to know that you're out on a boat in the Caribbean, or you're traveling through Europe for an extended period of time, or something along those lines. Depending on what your relationship is, you can keep those posts separate from the people that you want to just keep a business relationship with. Or if you have multiple lists, you could do all of your vacation photos but exclude all of the industry people out. Or if you have weird people, one of the other ones you can do is you can create a limited list where it's basically everybody that you don't want to see hardly anything that you have. You can exclude them from almost all of your posts. The classic examples that I see on that is, the people that like to make every single post political, and you're like, I would just rather they don't see my posts anymore. So you can go in there, put them on the limited list, and now you don't have somebody coming in and hijacking all of the different things you say.
So another question on this, what happens if I am on your sphere and referral list and you're in the Caribbean and you post a photo and it's excluding folks on your sphere and referral list? Yep. And then I'm on your list and I want to see what you're up to, so I go and click on your Facebook profile. Yep. Am I now able to see that posting because I clicked on your profile and it's on your profile, or no, because I'm on this excluded list, it doesn't get to see the post?
Yeah, it's a great question. So no, if I'm excluding you, you can't see it anywhere.
Okay.
So it's also a good question, because you have to be, and this is where, depending on what you're excluding or what you're putting on there, is if you're on the list and your friend, say we have mutual friends, is not on the list, and I exclude you but not them, they will see it, possibly bring it up, talk about it, and you'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see it. I can't see it. It's hidden. It's completely hidden from you. So that's where I wouldn't go too much in the weeds of really trying to exclude a lot of people out on things. Traditionally, the value in this, if you're really trying to figure out why you would create these lists, is so you can go in quickly in the morning, quickly in the evening, in literally 2 to 3 minutes, see what all of your potential clients or former clients are up to, comment on their stuff, and then move on with the rest of your day.
Got it.
And so that's the goal, is efficiency there. That's what we're looking for, is we want to be a little more effective while we're on here. One other thing that is super important to note is, if I do ever come in here and let's say I click on this and I say, okay, yep, we want to use this list and I want to save the changes. Once I've got this set up, once I plug this in here, it sticks. Mm-hmm. So for example, I've taught these classes a few times, and a couple of times I've gone through and I said, okay, I want to send it just to this list. And it's a list of 2 people, because that's what I was just using as my test case in the class. If I don't go back and change that, next thing I know, those 2 people are they're the only ones that will see any of my posts. So all of a sudden it becomes, you're like, why doesn't anybody like any of my stuff? I feel like I'm getting no likes, no comments, no reach. It's because it was literally going out to 2 people. Oh, and wow. So you do need to make sure that if you ever, exclude people, or you're playing around with this or anything, you do come back here and you say, okay, I want it just to go to my friends, which is, for me anyway, that's my standard way to go. But that's, you know, if we're talking about ways to just get more efficient and effective with your personal side, and we're going to get into content in a little bit in the content buckets, but that is the quick way to go through and make that more effective. And so, and you guys, if you do have any questions, feel free to jump into the box and comment. I'm happy to stop in real time and do that as well and answer those questions. But if we don't have any, then I'm now going to jump over to the business side. So if we go over to the business side and we're looking at our the business page here, there are a couple of ways that we've really found to really make this a lot more effective in regards to your time, energy, and money. The number one thing to note is, you know, one thing Facebook's really been cracking down on, and I don't know if cracking down on is the right word, but limiting is, you know, I mentioned earlier that within the Edge ranking, about 30% of the content you push out gets seen by your people and vice versa. So you're only seeing about 30%. Well, with pages, it's oftentimes less than 5%.
Wow.
And the reason being is they're saying, all right, well, if you're going to do business on our website or on our platform, you're going to pay for it. And so from a strategy standpoint, if we're looking at pages, you know, no longer is it really a viable use of your time or a worthwhile use of your time to just be constantly posting stuff on here. And if any of you have pages out there, you've probably seen it where you post it and you'll have it where it's only seen by like 11 people or something like that out of hundreds that actually like your page. So basically what we're going to, as far as strategy goes now, is it's more about finding, you know, a handful, you know, maybe one a week or something like that, pieces of content that's of value, adding a small budget to it. And by small, I mean literally it can be $5, $10, $15 or something like that. It doesn't have to be big. It can be $3. I mean, we've literally had agents that they're like, I'm just going to add like a $3 budget to every post that I make out there. But now you're only having to come up with something once a week, you know, versus having to constantly be on here posting. You know, I know back in the day when we were working with some of this stuff, we even had companies that were doing automated posts for you. So something was happening every day, and it was all this stuff to try to create engagement. And what really happened with that is the more you post out there that doesn't get interaction, the more Facebook looks at it and says, this is not interesting content. We're just not going to show it to anybody. So more is not necessarily better. So if you post a few things here and there that get a bunch of interaction, that will expand your reach. Or if you just add a small budget, that will expand your reach, and it's a better use of your time. So I want to jump in here and I want to show you guys a couple of quick boosting and ad options. So this is an example, and I'll kind of come back to this one in a little bit, of how to post a listing. But one of the best buttons they have on Facebook is if you go to this little boost button right here, and you probably didn't see it there, but I have 299 people now that like my page. So if you go down here, audiences, this one right here, it says people who like your page and their friends. So people who like your page and their friends is basically the 299 people that like my page, plus the one layer outside of that, that they know. So this, in theory, are the people that I'm going to run into in real life. They're going to be the people that are referred to me. And so this is something that it allows me to hit a whole nother layer of people, all just one layer removed from knowing me. And so if I click on this button, and right now by default, they want to have it in the entire state of Oregon. You know, and as I'm sure most of you guys work your business, you probably have more of a central location that you want to work with that on. So if I go here and I click edit, so next to the people who like your page and their friends, if I click edit, I can lock this in. I know in the Portland metro area, Lake Oswego is basically the center of the Portland metro area. So if I click on that and I click on 15 miles, that basically locks in the greater Portland area. Now, and that can go bigger or smaller. That's not really the point of this. I'll get back into the mapping in a little bit. So now if I click on that, so now I'm just going the greater Portland metropolitan area. And if I scroll down here and I look at this number right here, so there's this little thing that says I'm going to reach 54 to 160 per day, but it says out of 53,000. So my little 300 person following on this page is giving me 53,000 people I can market to that are one layer removed from knowing me. So if I'm trying to build out my brand, if I'm trying to, stay in front of people that will be future referrers or referral sources, this is the button I'm going to use, and it won't really cost me all that much money. You can see right here for this example, it's, for $20, I'm going to be getting in front of roughly 100 people per day times 10 days. So that's going to be 1,000 people. Granted, that's a very small chunk of this 53,000, but if you build that number up, it will continue to get bigger. And there are also other ways, and we'll talk about kind of pricing and stuff like that here in a little bit too. But there are other ways to then make that get bigger by the type of post or the type of boost you're running. So I'm gonna go ahead and cancel this out.
So this is really kind of a gold mine for people to, 53,000 people in the span of, you did just a 15-mile radius.
Yes.
So that's a lot of people to get in front of that you could potentially, if you wanted to really beef up your page and use this as one of your core marketing strategies as a even, just a small brokerage could do this, $20 a day or $20 for the whole post, $2 a day. That's a huge, group of folks you could get in front of for a relatively small budget.
Yeah. And so one of the things we talk about when we're talking about either boosted posts or ads is short run versus long run. And so like a short run ad is something, say it's an open house, right? And so an open house, I'm going to run that from Thursday to Saturday or Sunday, depending on when that thing is there. That's a short run. It's a very short period of time, because anything before that, people aren't necessarily ready to, commit to their weekend or go there. And anything, longer than that, it's going to be like, okay, well, it's already happened, it's gone, or whatever else. So the long run ads on the counter side to that is if you have, say you're trying to do lead generation or something along those lines, that one you may want running 24/7. And so that one you're just like, nope, I just want to go and go and go, maybe every 45 or 60 days, I'm going to go in and change the imagery and the copy, but I just want it to keep running. And it may be, predefined searches where you're like, here are the top 10 houses currently for sale in Beaverton, or here are 9 houses under $500,000 in the greater Portland metro area, or here are the, most expensive houses in Portland, or whatever that may be. Those ones you can kind of run forever. And the nice thing about an audience size of 53,000 people, when we're talking about Facebook advertising, somewhere between 40 and 60,000 people is a great audience for what we call evergreen ads. And that's what those like lead generation type ads are, because you'll hit them often enough that they'll start to get brand recognition, but not so often that you just get annoying. That's really what it comes down to. And so that 53,000 is actually kind of a perfect size. One thing to note, well, there's two sides to this too. Facebook, number one, anything I'm telling you today could change tomorrow, because literally I feel like every time we get into Facebook, which is almost on the daily with clients, something has changed. Some buttons moved, or it's gone, or it's, whatever. That being said, it's taken 50 page likes in order for that button to show up. So if you want people who like your page and their friends to show up as far as a boosting option, you have to get 50 people. And so if you're sitting there on your page and you look over here on the side where it says, for mine, it says 299. If you're sitting at like 25 or 30 or something along those lines, what we want to do is we want to get that number up over 50. And the easiest way to do that is if you click on the little 3 dots right here, this is kind of your menu to get to everything you need. You can come in here and say invite friends. And with this invite friends portion, one of our goals isn't necessarily to have a gigantic audience that likes your page. Based on that button that I just showed you, I would rather have exactly 50 people that are potentially going to refer me out, so that way I'm targeting all their friends, than have hundreds of people that will never actually send me business, because now I will be spending money on people and their friends that are never going to be a true referral source to me.
Right. So I guess the moral of the story is keep your page pared down to folks who like it, that will actually engage with you and might be a referral source. Because if you have more people on there, from maybe out of state, out of country, that might not ever use you, you're paying for them and their friends to see the ads versus, just keeping it smaller and having just those people view your ads, which it's a higher likelihood that it'll be successful for you.
Correct. Yeah. Really what it boils down to is fewer higher quality people that like your page is better than trying to get everyone.
Yeah.
Back in the early days of pages and stuff, it was all see how big of an audience you can get. And literally people were buying likes, and they're like, half of them were like bots or not even real people. We want actual people. And so that's where we're going to, we want to invite friends, but we want them to be quality people over quantity of people.
And so say you accidentally grew your page to 10,000 people.
Yep.
Could you go in and delete people who have liked your page?
You can block certain people. Honestly, if you get to the point where you have 10,000 people that like your page, and even if it's accidental, then that's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
now you have 10,000 people you're connected to, unless they're a bunch of bots and things like that. But usually having a bigger audience is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So if it is there, it's okay. Cool. All right, so I want to jump in. So that's the quickest, simplest way just to get one more level above just the people that you're connected to. Now, I also want to show you guys, so in the same menu, there's this little part that says Ads Manager. So I want to show you guys an actual way to build out audiences for individual or specific properties, or potentially even your farm area. So if I click on the little menu on the top left that says Facebook ads, over under assets, which is the fourth column over or fifth column over, there's a thing that says audiences. And I just kind of briefly want to touch on this because of the kind of time constraint. I could literally spend an hour in here teaching you a whole separate thing. But for right now, what I want to do is I want to show you a couple of ways that you can target using the back end of Facebook. And so if I go here and I say create audience, and I say create a saved audience. So in here, Facebook has the ability, or you have the ability through Facebook, to target people that you have no affiliation with whatsoever. So the last group we were talking about is a group that either knows you or is one layer removed. This audience that we're going to show you is something that you don't even know who these people are. And so I'm just going to call this my, we'll call it my farming audience. Man, typing is tough today. Fingers aren't working. And so under this, what we can do is I'll just throw in, our office address. There it is. Okay. And what this is going to do is it's going to drop a pin on the address. So if you weren't doing your office, so if you're a brokerage, this would be a great way to target people that have been around your brokerage lately. If you're an individual agent, this is how you can target people that have been around your listing lately. So you can throw in an exact address. Or if you're farming an area, you can do that. And if you look up here under the address, I can bring this down to as little as 1 mile around. So one of the questions we'll get quite often is, can I just go in here and draw like a polygon around a neighborhood or something like that? And the answer, unfortunately, is no. A mile radius is basically what we can do. However, if say you're trying to, like if I'm looking at this map and I want to be down here below this Highway 99 here, you can go in and say I want it to be a little more to the east too. I could drop another pin, knock this one down to 1 mile also, and now I've got these concentric circles that I could sit there and keep building it out. So you can kind of work around it a little bit, but no, you can't get to the point that's super finite just drawing around a specific neighborhood. Now, another thing that I change in here is, if you notice here, it says people who live in this location. So this is based basically on the best of their knowledge that people who live there. However, if you go in here, you can say people that are recently in this location or traveling to this location, and I would traditionally say everyone in this location. And so my reach previously, so let's go back to people who live in this location, was 14,000 people. If I go everyone in this location, and granted this one's a little skewed, if you're in a neighborhood, it's not going to be this big, because I'm also hitting everybody that's been on I-5 and 217. So there's a lot of people that have been going through here. But the way they know is if you have your app open and location services on, they know you've been in this 1 mile circle. If you've opened up your computer and your IP address is in here, they know that you're here. And so they basically know your location. And so if you're talking about trying to target people for an open house, the people that are most likely to buy there, or the people that you want to talk to, are either the neighbors who are there all the time, They're the people that have been touring homes inside of this circle and been around here, or they're people that were traveling to visit friends, or they were traveling into that area to potentially want to look to move there. And so by turning it to everyone, now we've got all of our potential clients for a potential property. So that's just purely by geography. Now down here, if we scroll down a little bit, we used to be able to, well, I should take that back. We used to target periodically by age, where we're like, all right, there's not going to be an 18-year-old that's going to buy this, $800,000 property. However, with everything that's gone on, both with security and all that, with HUD suing Facebook and things, we don't touch that anymore. So now it's still 18 to 65, just leave it alone. But what we can do is we can go into this detailed targeting portion down here. And depending on who we're trying to target, there are usually behaviors or activities or interests that will make people, or that will indicate that they're potentially going to be a client. So for buyers, we're usually looking at things like everybody's favorite. I know I get a big groan with all the realtors, but you know where they go? First place they go is Zillow. If I could type again. There we go. And we don't want it to be the employer. We want it to be the interest. And so basically Facebook knows this, because if they're going to the website, or they're going and interacting with other homes and things like that, Zillow is going to be the place they start. So then you can even just click on suggestions, Trulia, Redfin, house hunting, homes.com. You can just click on all these, and eventually you get enough where if I go back up here, that's now knocked my 50,000 plus to 20,000. And these are people that would potentially be interested in housing. So that's the search side. Now, if you're trying to kind of reverse engineer this, like what would you think would be something that homeowners do that renters don't?
Pay a mortgage? I don't know.
Well, paying a mortgage is true, that is valid, but work on their house, right?
Yeah,
so
true.
A renter is just going to call up their landlord and be like, hey, the faucet's broken. A homeowner is going to go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware or Orchard Hardware, or pick your spot. So if we go in here and we look at Home Depot, so once again, we want the interests, and then Lowe's, the interest, the Home Improvement Center. The other one that we see here is HGTV, because a lot of homeowners are on HGTV looking for inspiration.
Put the Property Brothers in.
Yeah, seriously. I don't know why there we go. Now it's popping up. So that interest, if we're looking for, and then here's HGTV Dream Home. So those are the types of things. So we're having to, before the whole Cambridge Analytica thing, we could literally target first-time homebuyers or renters or homeowners, because they were pulling that information in from outside sources like Experian. Now they don't have that anymore, so we're having to go kind of around. So just out of curiosity, we'll go back up. That added 3,000 more people in here in this circle that we can now target. And so this is my farming audience. So if I'm creating this, and I go back to my page here, it's taken just a second to load. But if I go back to my page here, and now I'm boosting out, I want to boost out my listing, or I want to hit this same circle over and over and over again because they're people that live around me. I take this same post that I created earlier, and now that I scroll down here, so right below people who like your page and their friends is now my farming audience. So all I have to do from this point forward, once I've created that audience, is I just have to put my post on my page like I always would, click on farming audience, scroll down, say how long I want to run, how much I want to spend, and we're there. So it makes it really simple to hit it over and over and over again. And if we're talking about a listing and you're wanting to say, okay, just listed, open houses, just sold, things like that, you build that audience out one time around that address, and then you can run 3 or 4 ads to those exact same people over the course of that listing lifetime. So that's kind of the quick, simple way to do it. So there is one other thing that I want to show you guys on here that, from a marketing standpoint, I tend to geek out a little bit on this stuff. So if you come in here under this create audiences, just like what I saw before, you can also create what's called a custom audience. And so under custom audiences, this is basically, it's the ability to create audiences based on some sort of either interaction with your website or interaction on Facebook or even interaction with you. So if we're looking over here, one of the ways that you can do it is based on events. So if you're running you have a big customer or client event that you're running, and you have all of all of your past clients, plus you're telling them to invite friends and things like that, you can, based on them interacting with the event, go back, build an audience just off people that you had at that event, and then hit them with ads and things as well too. So it could be just like, thank you for coming. It could be a video of what actually happened at that event. It could be testimonial saying like, wow, you're the greatest. I mean, it can be a lot of different things, all based off of event interaction.
So say you, you're an agent out there and you have an open house.
Mm-hmm.
So you set up your open house as an event on Facebook.
Yep.
And then when you have your open house, you're there encouraging people to check into the open house. Maybe you do a drawing, maybe you do something there.
Yep.
That's really encouraging people to RSVP to these events that you're setting up.
Yep.
You then could use all of those people who've checked in using their Facebook or said that they've attended your open houses as a pool of people who are looking to purchase homes.
Yep.
And then be able to market all of your listings to those people.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, and the other side we'll see with this, and granted, if you're just doing kind of a standard Saturday 1 to 3 or noon to 2 or whatever it is open house, you may not get enough people interacting with that in order to make it worthwhile. But if you're doing, say, like you have a nice listing and you're doing a twilight open and you're bringing in, a band and food and wine and all of those types of things, then yes, you can absolutely then start to get out in front of these people again. The other one, this is the one that I really like. So if you come in here and you click on video, so one of the things that you can do is you can target people that watch your videos. So if you are creating listing videos or you're creating, one of the things that we're seeing really gain traction right now is, things like the top 3 reasons to move to Lake Oswego, or the top 5 school districts in the state of Oregon, or, pick your number, best coffee shops in the Pearl District, whatever that type of thing is. So if I'm building out these videos and say I run, and we've even seen things where it's agents doing something like, are you thinking of moving to Portland? Here are the top 5 reasons to get out of the Bay or Seattle. And you could run these ads in Seattle or, the San Francisco Bay Area, spend a few $100s on getting your video out in front of these people. Then you come to this step. So if I'm right here and I click on this little browse button, and this is about ready to change, they're calling it through play. But right now I can target people who just watched 3 seconds of my video. So if they stop long enough to basically let it get rolling, I can now target people. And if you use verbiage or you use something along the lines of, are you thinking of moving to, or, are you tired of paying too much in the Bay Area, or, something along those lines, this is basically running this big wide net for people to raise their hand and say, yes, I'm one of those people. And so if that's what your video is, now I can go, okay, let's just pick the people that watched that video. And so let me get into my little thing here. So then you go through and you pick so let's say this was this video was the one that I wanted to then retarget. Now I create this audience. Instead of being, tens of thousands of people, I've had 1,000 people that basically said, yes, I am one of those people. Now I can send individual listings out to that, boost individual listings out there. I can do same thing I mentioned earlier, predefined searches where it's like, the best houses. If there's multiples that I did, I can literally take audiences from multiple videos to get on there. So it's a way to keep in touch with them, but it's basically retargeting by nothing more than they stopped and watched your video.
Wow.
So yeah, it can be a really powerful thing. So I'm going to say confirm on that. And then we'll just call this so it's my Aaron's 2 cents video views. That's now created. So if I want to go in and, I have that same post built out and I just want to get my new listing in front of people that have watched other listing videos, it's there.
Right.
And so I just go in there and I click on the same thing and it's done. So that's just a really cool way to retarget people, you know, and with video becoming, you know, more and more kind of popular. And, you know, one thing to note on this is you have to upload the video to Facebook. So a link to YouTube or a link to Vimeo, or, you know, a lot of times when you have either drone photography or something, like the photographer will actually just send you a link that you can put someplace. It has to be the original file. So like a .mov or a .mp4 or something like that, you can upload and will autoplay. But it's just such a cool way to really, like if I'm building this out from like a structure standpoint, I'm going to create something sort of general with a very strong call to action. Like I mentioned, it'll probably be like a top 3 or 5 list because that's what grabs people's attention. But reasons to move to Portland right now, or to move out of, like, you know, with Portland getting more expensive, maybe it's like, all right, reason to move out of Portland and go down to Salem, or, you know, like pick whatever your market is and where people are coming from, because we always want to start with that audience. Build a video around that messaging. Throw that out there, and at this point, I'm not going to spend a couple of bucks. If I'm spending the money to get a nice video made, I'll probably spend $200-300 in running this in kind of a general, like, Portland metro area. But then I'm going to go back and I'm going to start targeting all of the people that watch that video with all of my specific listings and things like that to show them, you know, what they can get from a value standpoint if they move into my area or territory.
And if you're thinking out there like, oh man, I could never create a video, or I don't have time for that, or I don't have the, you know, the money for that, Aaron, actually his previous webinar that he did, which is on our online catalog, he showed us 10 apps that every realtor must have. And I think 2 or 3 of those were how to create really engaging, short, quick videos using your literally nothing but an iPhone and a free program. So if you're out there going, man, you know, I really want to do this, but I don't think that I don't have the funds or the budget to get a professional video done, go and check out that webinar, because it will show you how to make these really cute, engaging, short videos for your properties. And then after you make that, you can use this to, you know, target folks that repeatedly watch those or watched it one time, who may be interested.
Yeah, and some of them, I mean, you can even build out slideshows that become videos. So that's another way to do it. I know we're kind of running a little short on time, so I won't dive into a bunch of those apps, but it can absolutely be something, you know, with the new phones. I mean, the new, you know, the Pixels and the iPhones and everything else, the cameras are so good. And if you just get like a microphone, and I like one, I've got it, it's called a Shure. It's about $150 on Amazon, but it just plugs right into the lightning port and it gives you fantastic sound. And then a stabilizer or a tripod or something like that, but those are cheap on Amazon as well. That can be enough to get video out there. It really can. So that's kind of the quick overview on the actual ads platform. Like I said, that can be a much bigger topic. Before I move on to Instagram, the one thing I did want to talk about is the buckets of content. So one of the questions we do get as a team is, you know, what are the types of things I can put out there? And traditionally what we end up seeing is, you know, we'll have agents on one of 2 sides. And one of them is they don't want to do a lot of personal stuff, so they just post listing. And that alienates a good chunk of your audience. And then you've got the other side where all they want to do is just, they don't want to bombard their people with things like listings, so they never post anything. And it's just personal, and there's never any mix. And so we've kind of created our buckets of content. And really there's 4 is what it kind of breaks down to. So the first one is kind of easy traditionally for agents. It is what we call the product bucket, which is houses. So this is your just listed, just sold, you know, in certain circumstances, we're still seeing some coming soons. It's open houses, it's all of that type of stuff. So make sure you do put that out there to an extent. I would say don't make that everything you push out there, but, you know, especially, you know, if you've got something that's in a great area or a hot school district or something like that, give your audience the opportunity to say, hey, look, there've only been 3 homes sold in this neighborhood in the last 1.5 years. So if you know somebody trying to get in here, let me know so I can give them first opportunity. So show the value of it, not necessarily just giving them, you know, 3-bed, 2-bath in this city. So be more targeted with your verbiage versus just informational. The second bucket that we talk about is it's the other people's bucket. And so other people's bucket is you giving your platform to other, other businesses traditionally. And so a lot of times what this comes down to is it's a shout out to, maybe it's a contractor or a roofer or your accountant or something. Because one thing that agents or realtors often have that other people don't is you do have a large group of people that, number one, won't screw your clients as far as pricing goes. They'll actually call them back. They have a good reputation. And by you giving these shout outs, it'll put you in the middle where it's like, hey, anytime you need anything, that I'm the first person to call, instead of trying to go on Google or Yelp or, just hoping somebody will call you back and not gouge you. So it allows you to stay in the center of your audience that way. The third one that we really like is, this is the one that'll keep a lot of people engaged, is it's either the best of or tips and tricks. So this is, think of it kind of like Pinterest or HGTV, really cool uses of space, upcycling things where they like turn something into something else that you're like, oh, I would have never thought of that. Design ideas, staging ideas, if it's like, current trends in bathrooms or kitchens or carpet or flooring or paint or whatever, anything that you see as you're going through houses and be like, oh, this is really cool right now, or this is hip. Put that stuff out there, because you see it all the time, but your average everyday person is only seeing a couple houses here and there, like theirs and maybe their friends, and that's all they see. So you are giving them inspiration for what they could potentially do to their house. Another really cool site is, there's one called Unsplash. If you're looking for this, so if I type in kitchen, these are free high resolution images. So you can just scroll through and you can just download them. Pexels is another one. I'm having some technology problems, but it's pexels.com. I think our network's blocking it for some reason, but it's basically just like this. It's free, beautiful marketing images that you can download, use, post on social, and they're fantastic. So I would recommend going to those. And then the fourth bucket is what we like to call the activity bucket. So this is you showing what's going on in your world and in your day. And so this is where you can put in personal things, like you're meeting clients at a coffee shop, you're in the office at 8 p.m., you're out walking your dog, and so it's just kind of showing the activities through your day that add kind of a personal connection. And this is where you really need to kind of mix it up a little bit, because this kind of falls into two categories that we see a lot too, where it's, you've got the agent that keeps posting, I'm on a jog, I'm on a hike, I'm at this bar, I'm at this coffee shop, and the perception suddenly becomes, do they ever work? Like, if this, all I ever see is this person playing, and those are the only activities I get. So you're like, they got to go work at some point. Or you see the other ones where it's just like work, and you're like, I know you do something else. There's no personal connection to somebody that all they talk about is work. And so this activity thing is a way to sort of skew what people's perception is of what your day looks like or your week looks like, just by saying, hey, I'm in the office, I'm now out playing, I'm now meeting with clients, I'm with my kids, I'm walking my dog. This gives people a glimpse into your life that allows connectivity, and that's really what we're looking for with this.
So you're saying that if an agent was using their Facebook as both kind of a mix of mixing their personal life and their business life together, that basically there's this like rule of 4, that you want to make sure that you're posting from each bucket and not overdoing one bucket versus the other.
That's the thought process, and it doesn't have to be one-to-one. It doesn't have to be for every time you post a house, you have to post one from another person, like, because especially if you're talking about the other people's bucket, you don't run across that many great vendors. And granted, if you're trying to establish yourself in a hyper local area, maybe it's a coffee shop, in a restaurant, in a cool store, all in the area that you're trying to work in. So that can work. I mean, if you're big into, say civic things, whether it be charity or schools or churches or anything like that, it can be conversations about the things that they're doing. That can also blend in there. But it really, if you just rotate through those, like, and every so often mix something in, then it will keep people engaged. I can say what we've seen from our experience is the tips and tricks, or the kind of the best of, is what traditionally gets the interaction. If you're going through a house and you see something really cool or potentially really bad once in a while, that's what's going to get interaction and keep people entertained when they're not ready to buy or sell a house, but it's still keeping you top of mind.
Right.
All right, so we've got a few minutes left. I do want to jump into Instagram here, so let me get this rolling. So got to get my screen share up here. All right. So if I'm going into Instagram here, there have been a couple of things that we've really started to look at in the last few months. And the first thing is just if you look at your profile, you can have multiple accounts, but they've done a couple of different things that have really changed the way that this can be set up. One thing is for a long time you would see posts that would say something along the lines of, you will get like link in bio. So it's like, oh, I've got a new listing. Check out the link in the bio. And you'd have to go into your bio where mine says, Linktree / Aaron's 2 cents. Well, what Linktree does, so it's LINKTREE. So that little link is, and I'm having network issues with that too, but I'll show you. But basically what it does is Linktree allows you to create little buttons that go to multiple different areas. And so with this here, so I could go through and it could be each one of these I could have for different listing. I can send people to my website. I can send them to my YouTube channel. So it basically allows you to then create buttons inside of your profile or inside of your link.
So basically, this is a link that sits in the bio part of your Instagram profile. And when folks click that link, it takes them to this page, which is up right now, that then they can click different and go to different places.
Okay. Yep. And each one of these things, so like the Facebook page would take them over to my Facebook page. The marketing Facebook marketing group would take them to my marketing group. The West website, that's our corporate website. But yeah, so if I'm an agent, it's sending them to my website. If I have a YouTube channel, it's going there. If I have an individual listing I'm trying to promote on there, I can change the names on these, so it'd be the address of that property. So yeah, each one of these would be a link to somewhere else out into the internet. And
so everybody who has an Instagram page and uses that Instagram page for real estate should have this, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a much better way. It's a much better way to link to a bunch of different things is what we're trying to do. So if I go back down here, so I'm going to scroll over. So one of the other things that has changed recently is stories are becoming more and more and more popular. And what we're seeing is we're actually getting a lot of clients where they're getting more interaction with their stories than they are with the actual feed. And we did a little kind of informal survey, and I was actually at the Digital Marketing Summit here in Portland just a few weeks back. And one of the things they talked about is there were certain audiences where 70% of all their content interaction was in stories, because it's just the little circles on top and they can just tap through them. Well, now you can actually categorize. So this is North Group. This is it's a friend of our company. She's in Canada, and what they've done that's really cool is if you look at this lineup here, you can build out stories and then you can save them and categorize them. And so the way that you do it is you have to create a story, and then inside the story there'll be a little heart that just says highlight, and that allows you to then put it in. So with them, they're doing this inside North Group, that's showing different people, and it's kind of giving an insight into who the people are that are there. Sold or pending, these are properties they have, open houses, they do a lot of new construction, so this is stuff that's coming, and then hot properties. But they're categorizing these, they're categorizing all of these stories into these different buckets that last. So normally a story goes away after 24 hours. When you highlight them and put them in your profile like this, now they will actually hang around. And if you click on the little highlight, and like I said, I'm having some technical difficulties with my stuff here, but if you click on it and you say edit, you can actually create, I don't know why it's going, there we go. You can actually create little icons. So where you saw on North Group, they had them all to where they were kind of uniform, they were little icons. You just go into your highlight and you click edit, and then you can use any picture you want to basically be the cover of these highlights. So that's one of the things you can do with your profile. So the next thing that we wanted to, or I wanted to touch on real quick is one of the things that we're always talking about is having a hashtag strategy that allows you to expand the reach of your marketing. And Instagram's really the one that this matters the most for, because you can follow hashtags. So if I go through my feed, I follow like luxury real estate, Portland real estate, Spokane real estate, because I'm working in Spokane, here and there. So it allows me to stay up to date on all of the things that are going in there. Well, anytime I have a property that, or a post that I want to be highlighted, I'm going to go through and I'm going to post it, and then I'm going to go into the first comment of that photo, and I'm going to push in all my hashtags. And with those hashtags, so if I want some that are going to be used on basically every post. The easy way to do this is if you go into your notes, so let me just go here and go notes. These are the hashtags that I want to put on basically every single post of mine. And so I can just come into this and I can say copy and paste. And now I've got these ready to go. And then if I want to add any additional ones, then I can, use specific, like say it's a, I wanted to go and it's like a bungalow, or it's a certain type of house, or it's a certain neighborhood. Then I can always add a few more on top of these that then will help expand the reach. But it's really nice because if you have them in your notes, you don't have to remember every single time you want to type them out. One thing to note with this though, is if you're using this, if you're using your Instagram account as a private or a personal Instagram, and you have it locked down to where somebody has to request to actually follow you, this defeats the purpose. Hashtags will no longer get outside of the people that are on your list already. So you either have to go into your account. So if I click on the three little dots or the three little dashes, the hamburger menu up top right, and then go into settings, there's a couple of things that you can do. Number one is if you clicked on the little portion under settings that say account, I would switch it to a business account if if I'm wanting to, if I scroll up here a little bit, and this is how you decide, this is how you can see whether it's a personal or a business. So if it says switch to personal account, that means you are a business account. And so if you switch to or if it says switch to business account, then you can change that over. The other way that you can do it is if you want to go back under your privacy, you can change it to account privacy where it says either private account or public account. Mine is set up where it's a public account, so it's not private. And so now hashtags will work. If this is set to private, then once again, only the people you're connected to are going to be able to see that. But I know we've only got a couple of minutes left, but those are the big things we're really pushing on Instagram right now is creating some sort of a story strategy, adding hashtags to all of your stuff, making sure that you do have Linktree set up to where if you want to focus on more than just one property or one website or something like that, you can direct them to the different places. And then, then mixing the different types of content in regards to really being able to touch all the different pieces or the different facets of your audience.
Great. So, wow. I mean, that was an action-packed hour. I'm hoping that you all got a lot out of it, and we'll be using these things. I mean, you could go after this webinar and spend an hour and set up all these things today if you had the time and want to do that. So thank you so much, Aaron, for being here and walking us through all of this. And I hope that maybe we'll, give everyone a month or two to implement this, and folks can come see you at convention, and maybe we'll schedule a follow-up to this where we can go a little bit more in depth.
Yep, I'd be happy to do that.
Cool. Well, thanks, everyone.